morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you're chiming in from. I'm your host, Ayushi Agarwal, a fellow IIM Indore, and I'm thrilled to be hosting today's episode. Our goal here is to share stories and insights with fellow alums and industry experts, and of course, have a little bit of fun. Without any delay, let me welcome our guest for the day, Pratap Chatterjee. Thank you for agreeing for this episode. May I please ask you to introduce yourself for our audience?
Hi, Ayushi. Thank you so much for the question. For everybody listening and watching, I'm Pratap Chatterjee. Uh, I am in Singapore for 10 years. I work in UBS as a COO for investment management under the wealth management division. I have grown up across all spectrums of India, almost, I can claim. I come from a very small town in North of Bengal. I studied there, I grew up there, I have lots of friends there. I moved to different cities in India: Calcutta, Bangalore, Delhi, Gurgaon. I have learned a lot from those experiences in life. And then with after I am good, I got opportunity to travel outside India. I spent a lot of time in New York working for different companies as a consultant. And then for last 10 years, I'm in Singapore. As I mentioned, I did consulting. I have done a lot in banking or financial services as a whole. But one of the things which is closest to my heart is for 1 year, I made really cool motorbikes.
Really?
Yeah. This was before my before my MBA. I worked in a place called Hosur
Okay.
in Tamil Nadu,
Okay.
which is very close to Bangalore, in a company called TVS Motors. And I was working in the motorcycle division, and we were that's a fascinating experience of mine, although it lasted only 1 year. But we used to make motorbikes,
Yeah.
which is quite cool.
Interesting. So, diving straight into the questions, what is the one thing that you've learned about succeeding in your industry?
I think it is perseverance. I have had two industries, if you might call, in my career. So I started about 6 years in consulting, and now about 10 years in banking,
Mhm.
wealth management. I think perseverance, because it takes a lot in
Yeah.
this industry. Banking is one of the industries where you cannot just become an expert
Mhm.
or have command of your topic in a very short period of time,
Yeah.
because it becomes superficial, and people can see through. So it takes a lot of tough days,
Mhm.
more often than not.
Yeah.
But you really have to go through it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the bigger picture, you should have some objective in your mind that this is where I'm trying to go. And as long as you are moving in that direction, I think it should be okay.
What is the one thing that you've learned about succeeding in your role?
I believe that you need to change your role or a job at a frequent interval, not change your company. Like,
Yeah.
as you can see, I am in UBS for last 10 years.
Wow.
But I'm lucky to be in a firm where I can change my role or job. I had very supportive people around me.
Mhm.
I think the learning from my role or roles have been, I have always been in roles where there was a certain level of uncertainty and chaos.
Yeah.
Um, but to manage through it is my biggest learning, right? And the people who can do that better than others probably can do it better. And I think as Indians, we are lucky to be brought up in a little bit of uncertainty and
Yeah.
chaos, and we all have learned to deal with it and figure out a way to succeed in it.
Yeah.
I think that's the secret.
Well, what is the one thing that you've learned about succeeding in life?
I honestly don't believe I have succeeded in life or anything. Life is long. Hopefully, it's a journey that we continue to live.
Yeah.
I really don't define life in terms of success or failure.
Yeah.
Everybody's life has a meaning. As long as you find some sort of happiness out of what you are doing, that's already success.
Yeah.
If you There will be times in life when you don't, and if you have the willingness or the ability to change that situation, even that is success. So I do not look at life as success or failure.
No, thank you for that. What is the one thing that you've learned about succeeding in relationships?
I mean, relationships, uh, as you grow up, you probably see, and I think it's true for most people, that you have less lesser number of stronger relationships, but they are really strong. The only way you can analyze whether you have done well is to look at those relationships which have been with you through thick and thin,
Yeah.
when you are down, who are the people you feel like talking to or
Yeah.
calling. And if you see a pattern across them, I think the success is about being true to that person, being who you are to that person, not to pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And it goes the other way as well.
Yeah.
People who feel comfortable to be who they are with you,
Yeah.
I think those are the relationships which last longer. And hence, try to be true to yourself
Yeah.
with any relationship you want to stick to for a
Yeah.
while. And that, I think, is the success.
Okay. What is the one thing that you learned about money? You're a banker, so
My job revolves around money. Unfortunately, most of it is somebody else's money.
yeah.
But I think money is very important, right? And I also strongly believe that as kids, or as while growing up,
Hmm.
we were not taught properly about how to deal with money.
Yeah.
Either we were told it's not important, everything
Yeah.
else is very important,
Yes.
which is not true.
Absolutely.
Or you later on in your life, you realize that is very important.
Yeah.
And hence you put too much of your effort and everything into,
Into yeah.
looking for it, right? I think we need to strike a balance.
Hmm.
Money is very important. It gives you some kind of soft landing for you to pursue what you want. Um, you need to be aware how to use it,
Yeah.
because you can abuse it very easily.
Yes.
You should know how to be able to generate wealth, right?
Yeah.
It's very important, because if you think about it, entrepreneurs, people who have done well in business, sure, they have made a lot of wealth and money for themselves, but the biggest contribution is the amount of people that have become wealthy because of those, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to tackle the topic of money, in a much bigger way than, the way we do. So I think it's very important.
Yeah. No, rightly put. Wealth is what matters and not the money. You have to be wealthy and
Yeah,
not
sure.
rich. Yeah. What is the one thing that you've learned about succeeding as a couple or with a partner?
I think again, we have treated each other with a lot of mutual respect.
Hmm.
We have given each other the space to grow. Actually, I know my wife when I was 14 years old.
Wow, that's a long time back.
Yeah, so when I was in class 7 or 8, yeah, because we went to the same school. So we know each other really well. Um, and hence, there's no way we can hide anything from each other,
Yeah.
even if we try. I think being that close to each other for so long um, has made it super easy,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean,
Time.
yeah, time, and also, as I said, mutual respect, giving each other the space to grow. I think those things have helped a lot.
Okay, thank you for sharing. If I ask you to look back upon your time at the campus in IIM Calcutta, and I ask you what is the one memory that comes to your head, what would that be?
Those 2 years, to be honest, were one of the best in my life. Everything that I think of about the campus, whether the people, the friends, even the place itself,
Yeah.
has a lot of memories. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest memories are the close friends that I have made.
Yeah.
Um, and it's quite amazing that the it's only 2 years we were there. People came from all over the place,
Yeah.
all over the country.
Yeah.
It's not like school friends where you spend a long time with them.
Yeah.
It's only 2 years, but some of the friendships are really strong. I mean, if you think about it, school friends are probably the friends you
Yeah.
have spent most time while growing up. Then you usually go to a college, 3, 4, 5 years. But somehow, business school or IIMs, maybe it's the culture of the place, maybe everybody is under a lot of pressure and stress,
Shared
and
struggle.
there is a, yeah, the shared struggle, and I think the brotherhood, don't mean in a male female way. I think it's that we are all in it together. We have to help each other out,
Yeah.
because the task ahead is quite hard, and
Yeah.
one single person cannot.
Yeah.
I think all of those kind of contributes to become very good friends. And I have seen the community looking out for each other quite a lot.
Yeah.
Many
Yeah.
instances where across different batches, across different situations of people, people have stepped up and
Yeah.
helped each other. I
Absolutely.
think that's quite fascinating, I think.
I mean, this initiative, right? Like all of us are IIM alums here, and we're here, and you know,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, this is something, this is the IM spirit, or, I mean, I'm not meaning that only the IMs, maybe it's broader than that, but
yes,
in general, at that stage of life, I think people bond quite well.
yeah. If I would ask you, how was your first day at campus? What would you say?
I remember I entered the campus and I saw a very familiar face. One guy that I had met when I was giving interviews to get into IIMs, right? And I was working at that time close to Bangalore. So all my interviews were in IIM Bangalore. I met this guy, he came from Chennai, and we were giving an interview for, I think, IIM Indore or IIM Kozhikode, or one of those. And I remember we instantly hit off, right? I mean, we connected quite well
Yeah.
before the interviews. And you meet so many people in life, right?
Right.
And I entered the campus and I saw this guy and I was like, hey, didn't I see you like 2 weeks back or 2 months back or something? And the funny thing is, him and I, I mean, him and I became very good friends in campus. Even after 15 years that we are out of campus, we ended up working in the same company
Oh
till
my
today.
God.
Very close friends, very close family friends. The kids are friends of each other.
Yeah.
So, that's my memory of the first day, honestly.
Lovely. But also looking at it from a broader perspective, right? The 2 years on campus, what do you think you gained out of
Lot,
those 2 years?
lot.
Yeah.
A huge perspective of life, right? I mean, one of the things I used to share with my friends is that when you go to a elite institute, what you realize is that everybody is better than you,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And that's a very educational experience that
Happy.
everybody should go through,
Yes.
right? Because typically you come from your own world and you think you are very good,
Yes.
and then you see so many people good, a lot of them are better than you and
Yes.
good at so many different things.
Absolutely.
What does it do? It kind of kills your ego,
Yeah.
which is very important,
Yes.
and also lets you learn from so
Yes.
many people, right?
Absolutely.
I think that would be one. The teachers and their depth of knowledge about topics, giving you confidence that you somehow fit into this world.
Yeah.
Um, and just the experience of IIM, which I am sure you know about it.
Yeah.
The late nights, the
Absolutely.
pressure of the early mornings, or sometimes it's a continuum, right?
Yeah.
Late nights and early mornings, you have never slept.
And you've been based in Singapore for 10 years now,
Yeah.
right? And of course, you're an IIM alum. If you put these two together, and I ask you, how do you think the IIM community in Singapore could be contributing more towards the nation? What would you say?
I mean, one topic that is very close to my heart is the condition of foreign migrant workers in Singapore. A lot of
Yeah.
them are Indians, whether they are working at our homes, they are helping us literally run our families.
Yeah.
I mean, I have one at home. I mean, she's the manager of the house.
Yeah.
And also all the migrant workers who are making the country what it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They are constructing everything,
Yeah.
literally. I think we owe it to them to do more for them, right?
Absolutely.
That's, I mean, this is just an example.
Right.
This is close to my heart.
Yeah.
It can be examples like this.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other topics, but these are the areas where people who are successful should be focused on. And we can make a difference if we can kind of
Yeah.
coordinate these things.
Definitely. Yeah. If I ask you to reflect back upon your greatest success, what would that be?
Wow.
And what circumstances do you think led to that? And what skills enabled it?
I mean, for me, success is I want to do something which is meaningful in my head.
Right.
And if I do it well, and I think I can tap my back in front of a mirror, that's success. I was part of a pretty big product launch for UBS, for which we worked on really hard for more than almost 2 years. Um, that went really well across the globe. We kind of, in our corporate metrics, we made a lot of money out of it. So all those metrics tied up to a conventional
Right.
definition of success.
Yeah.
That was quite good. Learned a lot from it. But honestly, as time goes on, these days, I think I measure success also with the success of the near and dear ones.
Of course.
I have a daughter, she's 10 years old. Um, when she comes home with a great painting she made,
Yeah.
feels a little bit my success as well.
Yeah.
My wife, she's amazing. She has a lot of energy. She does I don't know how many things at the same time. Recently, she became a full-time volunteer and treasurer for one of the resident communities.
Nice.
And I found that fascinating. After work, taking care of the kid, taking care of the house, full-time job, traveling almost 3 months a year,
Wow.
she finds time to do that.
Yeah.
I
Not
mean,
many are able to
I
do that.
claim a little bit of
Yeah.
success from that as well.
Lovely. But if I ask you to look on the other side of the coin, I'm sure you've had some setbacks, difficult
A lot of it.
situations, or maybe failures. What would some of those be, and how did you navigate out of it?
Honestly, in my job currently, every day I fail in something, right? So
Yeah.
failure is part of life. Success is hard to find, and
Yeah.
when you get it, you
Yeah.
really are happy. Failures are too many. After a time, you get used to it and you figure out a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
I think my way of dealing with it is that I feel life always gives you another chance.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah.
However, you people around you make you feel this is the only chance to
Yeah.
succeed.
Yeah.
And if you miss it,
Yeah.
the train is gone.
Yeah.
I don't buy that anymore. I think you will always get a second chance at most things. So if you start believing in that, then failure is iteration one.
Yeah.
You will get one more chance to fix it,
Yeah.
right? So that those are the failures. I don't see anything major failure. Yeah, I didn't succeed at many things. Honestly, you would laugh, but I wanted to become a writer, but I could never do it. So
Okay.
yeah, that's a
Interesting.
failure. That's a failure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried. It didn't work out. That's okay.
Wow. Out of the general money, career, business construct, do you think there is something out of the box that you've done that you'd like to share with the audiences?
I do some things for my community where I grew up. As I said, in North Bengal, I've tried to create a sports academy
Mm-hmm.
for some kids there because I know when I was growing up how hard it was.
Yeah.
Um, so I support that.
So, thank you for sharing all of this. But if you look back on your time and you think, I would have done this differently, or maybe I'd advise somebody else listening in to not do this, or maybe do it like this instead of doing it a certain way, would you want to share some thoughts on that?
Um, I have to be careful because I don't want to pontificate on this one
Hmm.
because life journeys are very personal. I wouldn't say that I don't want to do things differently. Yeah, there are many things I would have done differently. But then, as if I would have done them differently, I would have landed at a different place,
Yeah.
right? I don't know whether that place would have been better or worse.
Yeah.
In hindsight, you always think that if I do something differently, in your mind, you're always thinking that you would be in a better
Yes.
place, right?
Yes.
But that's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of take it, whatever you have done.
Yeah.
But if I have to advise somebody,
Yep.
especially I have a 10-year-old daughter, so she will grow up. I have to
Yeah.
tell her certain things, right?
Yeah.
I would say take a step back and think
Yeah.
about what you are doing. Ask yourself whether that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And also seek advice.
Yeah.
Seek advice, find a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
talk to a friend, um, take advice from people who might be differently thinking than who you
Yeah.
are, and then move ahead. Then make a decision and try to be accountable for it. Then
Yeah.
you can't blame anybody else. And if I had to change something, I would have asked for more advice and more guidance from people.
Right. In situations when you're going through something and deciding, how to deal with it, a lot of times we do go to a lot of people for many advices, but at the end of it, we're just wanting to, talk to somebody who would say what we're exactly thinking. So, how do you kind of, go against that bias? That
Very hard, right? It's
yeah,
very hard. You have to be matured enough to understand what advice you should take and what you should not.
absolutely,
Because advice is different from validation. If you're seeking for somebody to
yeah,
kind of validate what you already have thought,
mm-hmm.
that's not really advice. So if
Exactly,
you're seeking advice, you should be ready to hear something which you don't want to.
yeah,
It might you might not feel good about it. So it requires two
most
things.
definitely will not feel good about it. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, more often than not,
yeah,
right? So it needs two things. I think the courage from your own perspective to be able to handle
yeah,
a feedback, and also find it's very hard to find people who are genuinely interested in giving you good advice.
and a solid advice. Yeah,
Yeah, because yeah, it's not easy. So it goes back to those relationships that you have, the trusting
yeah,
relationships you have. You can take advice, and sometimes one example I can give is that, okay, so you want a career advice.
yep,
Sometimes good advice comes from very unlikely sources.
yep,
Like, you want to take a career advice about something which has got nothing to do with the person, he or she, my grandmother wouldn't know
yeah,
about something, and
yeah,
but she might give me an advice which is so good,
yeah.
it's relevant for
That
that
it
situation.
applies to the
So
situation. Yeah,
yeah, so I think that having a whole host of people that you can seek
yeah,
help and advice is very important. I think we are very shy in asking for help.
yes. Having an
And
ecosystem.
yeah, and I don't know, this is something, another thing that probably our IIM community here can create,
Yeah,
is we can create a platform where other people who need help
yeah,
in any sort of way
yeah. Of course.
can feel comfortable and confident to seek help.
Thank you for all the amazing answers. As parting thoughts, is there anything else that you'd like to leave the audiences with?
I just loved coming here, loved spending the time. Hopefully, we can get to know more people from
Yeah.
the community. And if I can be of help to anyone, um, please, as I said, I'm a big advocate of seeking help. So please, if I can be of help to anybody, um, please do reach out.
Thank you, Pratap. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening in.